Nowadays, the idea of the perfect crime is almost impossible. Due to advanced technology and surveillance everywhere, being a successful criminal for any length of time is almost unheard of. Criminals, for the most part, are not very smart people to start with, and like everyone else, they will eventually make a mistake and get caught. Even with forward-looking planning and a lot of prep time, despite what Hollywood movies say, it's nearly impossible to get away with it. However, from time to time, some daring criminals rely on the incompetence of justice to investigate them and are not shy about committing high-profile crimes and manage to flee without ever having to face the consequences of their actions. In those rare cases that we'll look at now, the crime really paid off. Matteo Messina Denaro. In the 150-year-old Cosa Nostra, or Sicilian Mafia, he was known as Il Capo di Tutti Capi, the boss of all bosses. Over many years, Matteo Messina Denaro, also known as Diabolic, has proven to be an expert organizer and crime leader, possibly the most famous in the world. From expensive cars, beautiful women, big houses and expensive jewelry, Denaro wasn't afraid to show off his ill-gotten gains. Denaro, the last of Sicily's notorious bosses, went into hiding after being implicated in the 1993 Italian bomb attacks aimed at slowing the pace of government action against the mafia. He remained at large for over 2 decades. Considering himself something of a folk hero, Denaro maintained his lavish lifestyle while still on the run and being wanted for more than 50 murders. It is among the top 10 lists of the most wanted criminals in the world. Some believe he enjoys the protection of the police and local politicians. That didn't stop investigators from confiscating investments from many fronts for Denaro's lucrative activities, including shopping malls, food distributors and wind farms. His domain is so wide that it is said that it is difficult to know where the economy of Western Sicily ends and its criminal empire begins. As Italy's government tries to cut cash flow to Denaro, they hope he will eventually be captured. Although many believe that it will never happen. Denaro doesn't use a cell phone or computer more than once, maintains a fierce bodyguard force and only associates with those who are loyal to him. Although police are sure he remained close to his home in Castelvetrano in western Sicily, those loyal to him refuse to admit they had any contact with him. Rather than demanding protection money, Denaro encouraged local businesses, ensuring they kept his location secret and that to this day he has not been captured by authorities around the world. The Anglin brothers and Frank Morris. Technically, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, and Frank Morris were caught, but they make this list because they mysteriously vanished and were never seen again. You might not recognize their names, but you know their accomplishment. They were the only men to ever escape from San Francisco's famed, unescapable, island prison, Alcatraz. The 3 men plotted their escape for years and finally carried it out on June 11, 1962. They left in their bunks realistic-looking papier-mâché heads with real human hair. Then they squeezed through a hole they had painstakingly made in the walls of the prison. They crawled through air vents to the roof, then making their way down a smokestack to the shoreline. Using an escape raft they fashioned out of stolen raincoats and some improvised paddles, they proceeded into the dark waters of San Francisco Bay. After that, no one really knows what happened to them. Some believe they died before ever reaching the opposite shore, drowning in the turbulent currents of the bay. Others believe they made it to freedom. A considerable manhunt ensued, but their bodies or their trail was never found. The Anglin family are certain the brothers, at least, survived and were alive and well until at least the mid-1970s, possibly still today. The evidence? Well, after the brothers escaped, someone was sending Christmas cards to their mother and signing the Anglin brothers' names. The cards never had postage. Though experts agree the signatures are authentic, investigators are unsure about the exact dates of the cards. Other evidence includes a photo from South America in the 1970s, claimed to show the brothers alive and well on their ranch. What do you think? Did they make it to freedom? Richard Bingham, Lord Lucan. Lord Lucan was a dynamic British aristocrat and army officer, known for his skill at backgammon and his affinity for vodka martinis, powerboats, and Aston Martin cars. His legal name was Richard Bingham, the 7th Earl of Lucan, a British noble whose spirited life took a terrible turn in November 1974. That was when he mysteriously vanished after the murder of his children's nanny, Sandra Rivet. Rivet's body was found in the basement of his family's home in the wealthy Belgravia section of London. The search began for Lord Lucan after his estranged wife, Veronica Duncan, the Countess Lucan, ran into a nearby pub, bleeding from head wounds, shouting, "He's in the house. He's murdered the nanny." Inside the house, police found Rivet, bludgeoned to death with a lead pipe and placed in a canvas mailbag. Though it wasn't clear as to why Lord Lucan would have killed her, some theorize he might have mistaken her for his wife. The couple had separated in 1972, and he had been in a bitter battle with his estranged wife over custody of their 3 children. An international manhunt ensued and unverified sightings were reported across the globe. A car that Lord Lucan had borrowed from a friend was found, abandoned and bloodstained near London. A subsequent inquest officially declared him the killer. Theories abound on the whereabouts of Lord Lucan, some even believing he committed suicide. A British judge declared him dead in 1999, and a death certificate was formally issued in 2014. Some believe, however remotely, there remains a possibility that Lord Lucan is still alive and in hiding. He would be in his 80s. Roberto Solis. 21-year-old Heather Tall-Chief was an armored car driver in Las Vegas, Nevada. On Friday, October 1, 1993, while refilling ATMs of several local casinos, she vanished. It was going to be a busy weekend, so her armored car was loaded with over $3 million. A check of the surveillance footage shows that Heather simply drove off after dropping her coworkers at a casino side entrance. She vanished with all the cash. It appears Heather's whole job was a ruse. She had applied and taken the position 2 months prior as part of a grand criminal plan. Heather had no criminal record and the police searched her apartment for clues as to why she would do such a thing. In addition to Heather's fingerprints, an additional set was found, belonging to convicted murderer and thief Roberto Solis. The investigation revealed that Heather met Solis, started a relationship, and together they planned the perfect crime. Unbeknownst to Heather when they first met, Solis had served 17 years in prison for murdering a security guard during a robbery in San Francisco in 1969. He was released on parole in 1992, which led to his mating with 21-year-old Heather, who was 27 years younger. Solis even opened a business to retrofit vehicles into armored cars, so as not to arouse suspicion whenever Heather drove the stolen vehicle. 2 hours after her disappearance, Heather and Solis, in disguise, boarded their chartered jet bound for Colorado. In Colorado, the couple had covered their tracks and the trail went cold. Heather eventually surrendered in 2005, having left Solis when she learned she was pregnant with his child. She claimed she had been brainwashed by Solis and wanted her son to have a normal life. Heather served 63 months in prison, but Roberto Solis remains at large. D.B. Cooper. On November 24, 1971, a man under the alias of Dan Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Airlines flight number 305, in Portland, Oregon, bound for Seattle, Washington. Dressed in a dark suit and tie, he showed a flight attendant a bomb inside his briefcase and thus began the most famous hijacking in aviation history. He demanded $200,000, 4 parachutes, and food for the crew. Once the plane landed in Seattle, he released all the passengers and 1 flight attendant. The FBI acquiesced to his demands and, once it was refueled, the Boeing 727 took off again heading south. About 45 minutes after takeoff, Cooper donned a parachute and told the flight attendant to go to the cockpit. He had tied the bank bag full of cash onto himself and lowered the aft stairs of the plane. Then, in a heavy storm, Cooper jumped from the plane and was never seen again. A military search was conducted of the suspected jump zone, but no trace of Cooper was ever found. The media mistakenly referred to him as D.B. Cooper, and the moniker stuck. In 1980, north of Portland, a young boy found bundles of cash totaling $5,800 buried a few inches in the sand. The money was from Cooper's ransom. Did Cooper die in the jump? Was he an experienced skydiver? Intriguingly, some of his actions, according to experts, pointed to him being a novice, while other actions seemed to indicate he was an expert. The case goes down in history as being the only unsolved skyjacking in commercial aviation history. And these are some of the criminals that were never caught, and some are still wanted today. If you know other emblematic criminals who have never been caught, leave in the comments, maybe we do a second part of the theme. And if you liked the video, let us know, it means a lot to us. Thanks for watching until the next video.